Good morning, good morning. We're going to be doing a great practice here, and I am recording because we won't be together next week, Labor Day week. Yeah, I got someone asking to know a little bit more about Patreon, and I'd love to connect with you after class, or happy to tell everyone. But it's a fun subscription that it gives you access to in-person class if you want it, or videos or Zooming. So you kind of get access to all of it is the short of it. So it's kind of a cool option, and I'd love to talk to you about it. So we had a great practice last week. And I had a number of people say it really felt good to them. And I found it interesting when I reflected, okay, what did we do? One of the key things in my mind that we included in the practice was some significant twisting, because I was talking about the importance of side body, kind of that lat area. And it's really the only thing that connects our shoulder girdle to our hip girdle. And when you think about shoulder and hip girdle, they're the big kahunas. They are what make us work, right? It's what allows our head, our arms to function the way they should, our legs, our low back. So when you think about the majority of the places in our body that most people suffer from some chronic pain that can be really interruptive, it's that whole spinal column, and the hip and shoulder girdle are massively involved and affected by. So I feel like twists are pretty renovating. We also have a phrase in yoga that says basically that the twists will help reintegrate your pieces of self. So they're also helpful, I think, emotionally, energetically. If you've felt kind of discombobulated, a little out of sorts, not centered, simply doing some deep breathing and twisting can be marvelously helpful. They're also really educational for us. So I want to remind you that when we're doing poses, we're doing them to get the effect of the pose, but we're also doing them to learn more about our body. So there's also that reflective part of being in the posture of noticing, of witnessing and going, wow, why is it so much harder for me to rotate this way? So twists really reveal a lot about our imbalances. And I'm always happy to brainstorm with you, after practice, if you notice something, but you're not sure what it means or how to work with it. We're going to start off on our front body. We don't often do that, and it's kind of a fun, introverted way to begin practice. I find this time of year is so zippy. Everyone's busy with all kinds of things. There's the going back to school, and there's the trying to pack in as much summer and outdoor goodness as we can. So we're going to start off on our bellies to try and demarcate between all of that out there and this interior. So we'll come into our 3 points of introversion: inward gaze, looking up and in towards the third eye, light connection of the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth, and inviting a softening as much as you can in this position through the rest of the tongue, the jaw, even the kind of tissue under the jaw line where you might get swollen glands if you were fighting something off, for example. And then lastly, our ujjayi, great sounding breath. So light contraction of the throat. It cultivates the breath that sounds like wind in the trees or ocean waves. This can be a marvelous tool for sweeping the surface of the mind, clear and calm. As you are breathing, I'm hoping you can observe movement, the fabric against your skin, the gentle rising and settling of your body as your abdomen expands into the mat or floor, and it transfers into your back and helps massage some of those lower back and pelvic muscles. So particularly if you notice tension and discomfort anywhere along that spinal column, picture the breath delivering to that exact area. We are treasure hunters, us yogis, and here we're hunting and watching for the moment of pause between the waves of the breath. If you find even one moment of stillness to kind of hover in, it is truly a treasure. Finding the spaciousness inside of our breathing helps create spaciousness in our experience of life off the yoga mat. This is a wonderful moment to appreciate yourself for getting to the yoga mat, for making this commitment, boundary to attend to your interior. Yoga means to yoke together, bind together body, mind, spirit. It's a wholeness practice. So as we come into 3 sighing breaths, on the exhales, releasing anything that does not equal wholeness for you. Long inhale, slow, deep and wide. Is there more? With each exhale, an invitation to melt somewhere new. Maybe it's your left calf muscle. As you're ready, bringing your arms, if they are not already, kind of just out to the side of your head, hands on the floor, relaxed. Anchor the pelvis, and on your next inhale, drawing your heart forward, turning your head neutral, so nose facing the floor. And on the exhale, rotating the face the other direction, descending. We're going to do this a number of times. And your challenge, I give it to you, is to melt so completely until that next inhale comes, extending, experiencing the fullness of breath, and rotating the other direction as you exhale, descend, and give yourself to gravity. Again, seeking the pause, the moment of non-movement, non-preparation for the next thing. It is as if you are planting yourself for a long time. And if you do that quite fully, you might notice as your head is to one side that if you really relax, your cheeks and your lips are taken a little by gravity towards the floor. Notice if the mind wanders, tune in deeply. We'll do one more full set. Last one, extending, getting nice and high and long. And releasing, good. Then bending the knees and windshield wipering side to side. So I'm taking both feet at a time to one direction and then the other versus crisscrossing them. The other is lovely too, but this side to side motion you might feel is starting to create some rotation in the lower spine. Do you guys feel that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice little massage, right? Didn't know you could do it to yourself quite so easily. All right, and then I'm gonna keep my knees bent. I'm gonna bring my right arm in front of me, forearm across the front of the mat, so it's parallel to the front. And I'm just gonna reach back for my left ankle, relax my right leg down, and I'm gonna press my left ankle into the hand a little bit. Now there's no goal here. You're not trying to lift your leg off the floor. I'm actually just trying to get you to activate the quadricep. Do you feel that on the front of the thigh? Oh yeah, I love it. One more big inhale if you would like to. Make sure that pelvis is tucked down. You could press a little up on the forearm and then raise the knee off. So it's a little like half bow pose. Exhaling, release, switch arms, switch ankles. Keep that pubic bone anchored down into the floor. Makes a big difference for the low back, so we won't compress the vertebrae. And again, just pressing the ankle into the hand. Breathing. I noticed, by the way, just now when I took a bigger breath because I wasn't talking, that I could feel it really come up into my left rib cage as I'm holding this, right? So again, we've got a little bit of a twist or rotation going because I'm reaching through one arm. If you'd like now, press with your front arm to create a little more of an arch in the back and see if you can raise your knee off the floor. Let that shoulder be drawn down and back. And then exhaling, release. Plant both hands and press back to your child's pose. Taking those knees nice and wide. And right away, I'm going to keep my head and chest raised, which we don't often do in child. So I'm going to stay here with active hands, and I'm going to just swing my shoulders side to side. I'm hoping you can feel again some nice movement all the way down through the lower spine and into the ribs. Again, if this doesn't work for your shoulder or anything else, always make adjustments. Beautifully done. All right, staying approximately here, unless it doesn't work for you, and I'll show an alternate. We're gonna take our right arm and reach under and thread the needle. So I've got my palm facing the sky, and I'm gonna settle onto my right shoulder. And if I can, I'm gonna let my head just settle onto the floor. If that's uncomfortable for your neck or something else, you can keep raised off the floor. Just make sure you're using core support. Sometimes I'll intentionally lift my head and shoulder off the floor to get a bigger inhale. And exhale, settle deeper again. When you are ready to switch, nice core support, returning that hand and then threading the left arm under the right armpit, palm facing the sky, and maybe settling onto the head. Or staying extended and kind of lifting and pulsing, whatever makes the most sense in your body. And you're a treasure hunter, so however you find those delicious massage sensations, the twists, the awareness, deep breath. Is this side different? As you're ready, you'll release back to your center and a nice tuck of the tailbone to come on up into our table alignment. Hands are intelligent hands, meaning all those fingers are spread, middle finger straight forward, right under the shoulders, and go into the cow cat, inhaling, drawing the heart forward as we draw the shoulder heads down the spine. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone and feel that curve all the way up the spine until the head hangs. To initiate your cow pose, try reaching back through the tailbone and then drawing the heart forward. I find it is just different than trying to do it all simultaneously. And again, exhaling, cat pose, tuck the tailbone, let it progress. This wonderful rolling undulation through the spine is marvelous. Again, tailbone moves out to the back first for cow. Marvelous for pumping spinal fluid. So if we're ever doing dog series and you're like, oh man, I'm missing out because my wrists or shoulders won't let me, just doing cow cat can actually give you a lot of these spinal benefits that we get in dog series. As I mentioned before we in fact started practice, I've had a lot of injury stuff right when I started yoga with that car accident, and it really taught me how to come up with the benefits without any of the injury or pain that you might get with some of the more intensive postures. Okay, we're going to come into downward facing dog. I like widening my hands a little bit more and moving them forward a little bit more, but you can also play with that once you're in your pose. Nice core support. Your foundation to begin with is that pad of the thumb and the index finger. Please anchor through there. Then think about rotating shoulders open away from the ears
And then sending the hips up and back. I'm also gonna have you take a big inhale with your knees still bent. Exhale, draw your belly towards your spine. Feel all that support. Then see if the hips will go even further back. And now if you want to press heels towards the floor, one full breath. And settling onto your knees again. We're actually going to be coming onto our belly again. So if you'd like, you could do a little mini plank to chaturanga, right? So hands, knees, slowly bending the elbows to come on down. Ooh, down. Yeah, roll out those wrists, resting on the forehead, anchoring through the pelvis, circling the shoulders until it feels so easy, I hope, to interlace your fingers in yoga mudra. Now, if that doesn't feel good, your hands don't like it, or you can't get a good clasp, or it's just too tight, adding a little strap or a scarf between the hands. Otherwise, now pressing the knuckles towards the heels. Keep that pubic bone tucked, please. And if it feels good, a couple of add-ons. Raising the hands off the butt. Rotating right and left so that your chest is coming a little away from the floor. Again, if this hurts your breast area or what have you, don't add that. And releasing. Relax, settle, whatever feels good. Your arms might be alongside the head again. Big blossoming breath. Again, you feel it in the belly and then it journeys to the low back. If you are not feeling that low back breath, it means you're cutting your inhale short. And you're also missing out on your massage. So don't do that. I'm going to use a little bit of that powerful breath and core to come into forearm plank. So always anchoring the pubic bone first, again for low back stability. And as you're ready, coming either onto knees or feet into your forearm plank, totally up to you. See what makes sense. Yeah, what would it feel like here in your forearm plank to move your chest a little side to side? So we're working a little with some of those transverse abdominis and even into those lat muscles I described. If you're not feeling that, you could walk your elbows forward just slightly. Again, if it hurts the shoulder, don't do it, don't do it. And release and press back to your child's pose. If child's pose is ever not super accessible, your knees don't like it or whatever, ragdoll is a nice alternative for that low back stretch. I'm gonna walk my hands over to the right, particularly keeping a long line so the arm is straight from my left hand to my left hip, right? Trying to keep as stretched through there as I can and breathe into it. And slowly over to the left. Observing breath touch you, noticing differences. So differences in the side body flexibility will affect us in twists in a big way. And slowly back to center, and a nice tuck of the tailbone again. Excellent. In table pose here, I like to just sometimes give my leg a little kick, give it a break from all of this being on your knees. If you need to make any adjustments, go for it. You could go onto fists, for example, for wrist protection. We're going to do a little core work here, and it's going to fire up some of that diagonal strengthening and awareness. Shoulder heads anchor, nice core support so you're not hanging on the joints. Simply raise the right hand and left knee an inch off the floor and breathe. Bring breath up into the ribs, soften through neck and face. We'll slowly switch. Noticing what lights up now as you lift left hand and right knee off the floor. And slowly switch. So we'll add an extension of the limbs, lifting right hand, left knee, slowly extending, keeping the limbs the height of the body, don't go higher. And can you get your leg completely straight, flexing through that heel? One more long inhale and take those limbs just a little out to the side. And then return on your exhale as slow as you possibly can. Beautiful. Isn't that stunning how much work that is? All right, lifting left hand and right leg. Check that you're not compensating, you're not leaning or doing anything funky. Extend those limbs, extend long through the back of the neck. So you're looking right at the floor. Extending those limbs out to the side just a little bit, no big movement. And as you return, glacially slow. Let's get off our wrists for a bit, shall we? We're actually going to come on to our back body. We're going to be doing bridge. Some of you, I know, like putting a block or some other object between the thighs, so have yours handy. This can really help create beautiful core stability and balance in the inner leg to the outer, which of course massively affects our hip girdle. And we're going to be doing some lunging. So I want us to know where those muscles are and light them up. So adding your block in there, like so. Feet are flat, shoulder heads working their way in underneath us, so the cervical spine is protected. Nice long inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, spine to floor until the pelvis curls up off the floor. We're going to be coming in and out of this for a bit. Inhale, descending nice and slow. Enjoy the fullness of that inhale before exhaling, belly to spine, spine to floor, pelvis curls up. Is there more? Check in with your tongue and invite a softness again, just the light connection of the tip of the tongue. Maybe a soft smile, getting to tune into how strong your body is. And of course, waking up anything that needs waking up. We'll do one more like this. And after you've released, go ahead and release the block and bring it in under your sacral triangle for our nice supported pose here. Keeping your knees bent, please, and let your lower back just sort of be tractioned along. It's not in the low back vertebrae. It's right at the top of the crack of the butt, so that the low back is being invited to elongate and relax towards the floor. Good. Then I'm going to have you bring one knee at a time into your belly and making any adjustments if you need to so that doesn't hurt you. Sometimes the edge of the block can feel a little funky. And then raising those legs in what we call waterfall. And some of us, this will just be super relaxing, and others will be like, wow, that's a hamstring stretch. What does it feel like if you flex and point your feet? Good. Roll out those ankles, and then what would it feel like to open those legs in a straddle? Nice deep breath. And then relax. I'm just going to kind of bend my knees again, bring them back in, and then 1 foot at a time, release to the floor. Release the block from under the butt. Stay up for our bridge with foot hover. If you have your feet pretty wide, please bring them in. And then ever so slowly, 1 foot hovering off the floor. Notice if the hip dumps and try and balance it out again. It's the power in the butt and the thigh of the standing leg that'll help you out. Comparing sides as you go. Trying not to use the neck, which I find incredibly difficult. If you feel a leg extension would be good, straighten that leg, foot flexed, keeping the thigh the same exact height. And releasing knees to belly. Nice hug here.
So I'm going to be bringing us into spinal twist, a nice kind of relaxed one here before we come into our more engaged twists with lunging. Everybody's got a different twist that they love. I find in general that most people benefit from a double knee down twist and something between the legs perhaps to help keep them anchored. It could be a block or a folded blanket or a small cushion. So once you have got that going on, we can play with what's happening in the torso. So if you're in a double knee down twist versus single, it's kind of neat because you can do more with the upper spine. So if you're on your right side, you might want to tuck something under your head, by the way, if you feel your head is dropping. Or try this, scoot your right shoulder further to the right and see if you're able to now relax more onto the blade of the shoulder. Does that make sense? You're feeling that? Yeah. So that's going to increase the twist, and it increases the importance of stability here through the sacral triangle. That's why I want your feet flexed, something between your knees, and your knees as high as your hips. Then you can take your floor hand and hold the outside of the legs before beginning to rotate open through that top arm. And this is where breath becomes really exciting. If you are kind of in a deep and at your edge version of a twist, that inhale should bring you up out of your twist. It demands space. And the exhale gives you back some. So we kind of, we let go of a goal of getting anywhere other than deep breath. And then the deep breath takes us farther and deeper than we would have ever expected. Please remember when you're in that open version of your twist to play with that back arm. This is a really instructive experience, I find, to discover the shoulder and what's going on each side and to release it. What would it feel like to have your arm really reaching behind you and then rotate your face away from it? And what would it feel like to flex your fingertips down towards the floor? All right. And then two different options. One is just to return to embryo pose and maybe tuck your forearm up under your head. The other is you can kind of go more actively to the other side, but I think creating neutral again is nice, and you can breathe into those low back and rib muscles. It's kind of wonderful. And then we'll just scooch to our other side and block between the thighs. Either something tucked under your head if it's just too awkward, or seeing if you can create more ease by reaching your left shoulder further left, or your floor shoulder towards the outside of the mat, using your floor hand to anchor the legs. Thighs are connecting through the block or whatever, knees are straight forward at the hips, and opening out behind. So I'm curious, does this feel different to any of you than what you usually do? Yeah, a couple of you are saying you're noticing it. Yeah, for me, the combination of the anchoring between the thighs and then the scooching the shoulder over often will take me to somewhere really different. Big breaths here. Breath is the change agent. It's the armpit. Really gets into the armpit. I'm with you on that. Yeah, the armpit, as I try to point out to people, that really is your shoulder joint. So everything that goes through that shoulder is in that armpit. So a lot of the nerves and so on, it's can be quite sensation filled. And notice, would it feel good to rotate the head completely away from the hand? Would it feel good to rotate or flex the fingers down towards the floor? And returning to your embryo pose, perhaps the forearm coming up under the head for support, relaxing the feet. Take a big, beautiful breath up into your ribs.
All right, I'm gonna go straight from here, just using my hand to help me push up. And we're gonna come onto our hands and knees again, moving into our downward facing dog. Nice intelligent hands. I hope you find a luxurious cow cat to get there. All right, we're gonna do one more little side body stretch and twist here. I'm gonna invite you to press your right ankle towards the floor, bend your left knee, and send your hips to the left. Let's think about that. My hope is you're feeling a stretch as you anchor your right heel and you send your hips to the left, that you're feeling a stretch through that right side. And let's switch, sending the left heel towards the floor and the hips to the right, feeling a stretch through that left side of the body, bending your right knee as deeply as you need to get there. All right, invitation for dog series before we settle into our ragdoll at the back of the mat. If you're like, yeah, I don't need that, just meet us in ragdoll. Inhaling to your plank, or maybe you just want to do plank because that feels great in your body. Exhaling, slow, low chaturanga. Keep those shoulders anchored, elbows in. Maybe it's just a 1-inch push-up. You don't have to do a big one. Anchoring pelvis to inhale to cobra or upward facing dog on the feet. And exhaling, downward facing dog. Sighing breath and slow walking the hands back towards the feet. Ragdoll, knees bent. Letting the body drape with gravity. Let that big breath roll in and do its thing. Yeah, and then we're gonna just sweep the area around our feet. So I'm kind of letting my hands go one way and the hips the other. So as you're ready, we'll rise up, a nice root and rise. Glutes engage, and then prayer hands. And let's settle, pause, and round. It can be a little dizzying after being upside down and doing all the things we've done. So I'm noticing when I come up to stand just now that my feet, my ankles cracked, etc. So it might just be me, but you might want to just check yours out. You know, when we're doing tension release through all of here, it continues down, you know, all the way through the body, right? We've got that fascial point. So notice if there's a release desired. We're going to bring our right knee into our belly. If for some reason you can't reach your knee comfortably, you could hook a strap or a scarf around kind of under the kneecap, because I would like you to have your shoulder heads anchored. And yeah, if the balance part of this is just too much, you feel like you have to keep releasing your leg, you might want to take a hold of a wall with the left hand for the moment and just hug the right knee. But we are going to be coming into a twist. So you might actually have to use your other hand if you're trying to connect with the wall. So we're going to bring our left hand to the outside of the right knee. And we're going to rotate to the right. And I'm going to keep my right hand on my hip for now. Good. A lot of people chose the wall. Good job. Yeah. So you want the wall to your right in this case, right? So nice inhale, center. Exhale, belly to spine, wringing the rag. And try to keep the knees straight forward as you rotate to the right. Good. Let's do one more. Returning center, exhale, rotating right, and bringing your right arm out behind you like you're presenting a platter, and even looking out behind you if you can. And then relax it. Good. And I sometimes like doing a reorganizational dance. Yeah, like that. Just sort of going a little side to side, because that's a lot of intensity up that leg, right? All right, so now if you're going to hold a wall, you'll want to have it to your left. Initially, we're going to bring both hands onto the knee if you can, otherwise you're going to have your left hand on the wall. Good. Make sure you're invigorating that standing leg. Really get that quadricep clicked in, and you're powering down through the inner line of the foot. As you're ready, we're going to inhale, root and rise, shoulders slide down. Exhale, ring the rag and rotate to the left. Okay, I'm just keeping my left hand on my hip. I'm going to inhale and let it take up space, so I might return towards central now. Exhale, root and rise, ring the rag and rotate to the left. One more.
And on this last rotation, yeah, that's where I fell out last time too. All right, last time, and see if you can release your hand, reaching out behind like you're presenting a platter. And release, good. Come back to your mats. Those of you who left, take your feet wide in a straddle. And we're gonna go side to side. We're gonna stretch some of that out, both in the legs, hips, and also in the rib cage. Good, so giving some nice relief to your IT bands here on the outside. If you can take your hands to the floor, great. If you cannot, I want everyone to have their block handy because we're gonna be using it in a little bit when we're lunging as well. But you can kind of use your block to make your arms longer if you need to. And if you're able to let your head hang, please do. And we're gonna hold to one side. Now, you do not want your knee coming past your ankle. If that's happening, you gotta go bigger, okay? And I'm gonna go to the right. Let's all go to the right so I can give you the same cue. Have your hands no farther than the foot. I don't want your hands out to the right of the foot, all right? Because I'm gonna kind of try and bring my right elbow down inside of my right calf, right? So big inhale. Exhale, belly to spine, and I'm gonna see if I can use my core to fold more deeply, like I wanna kiss the yoga mat. And I'm gonna lower my right shoulder down, kind of near my right knee. Don't worry if you don't get there. That's just kind of a direction we're headed. Then we're gonna go to the left side. I'm gonna make sure my right foot is still staying anchored, like a tree frog. Big inhale, exhale, fold. Slide that left shoulder down near the knee and calf. Another breath. All right, slowly return to the right. I'm pausing because I realize that some of you will be facing away from me, but we don't care, do we? I don't care. You can do whichever side you want. You don't need to face me. But I do want you in a pretty decent lunge. And it's not a great description, yogic description, pretty decent lunge. What I mean is, in this case, I don't want you hanging. So if you need to be knee down, go knee down. But even then, don't let the hips hyper kind of hang. I want you in a position of athleticism. So you could theoretically like even bounce your back foot up. I'm gonna have you take your block and place it under your left hand if you have your right foot at the front of the mat. So it's the opposite. So I'm just making my arm longer, all right? And you wanna be on the ball of your back foot and please make sure that your hips are steered. So I've got my right hip bone back, left hip bone forward so that I'm completely facing the floor. I'm not wagging. As you're ready, we're gonna bring the right hand up onto the right thigh. Inhale, get long. Exhale, rotate to the right. Right? So it's some more twisting. You just did some of this standing. Inhale, give it room. Exhale, rotate. Let's do that one more time. And if it feels good to you, open that top arm to the ceiling. Try not to wing out behind, by the way. All right. Coming on down, we're going to plant our back foot like you do in a warrior two stance, 90 degrees. And I'm going to, in my case, I'm going to raise my block up a level and give myself a little more space. You could even come up to the tallest block because we're going to come into our lateral stretch. And in our lateral stretch, we want our hips to be in alignment with the feet, no butt out behind. How do you know? Well, you try sending your butt towards the center or the other side of the mat, and you should feel some of what I'm talking about. The other thing that will happen is your thigh bone will be straight. So if your knee is in from your hip at all, that's an indication that the pelvis isn't quite moving towards the center. Now you got it. And then we want to see if we can bring the shoulder back and stack. And start to feel that beautiful long line. It's a lot of work actually from the core, potentially. Yeah, how's that feeling? Good. And reaching your top arm out beyond your head as if you wanted to touch the front of the room. Unless it hurts your shoulder, in which case, just let that arm lay on down. Beautiful, nice, active hand. One more big inhale, and your choice, either work your way out to straddle and relax there, or come out to downward facing dog. And I've noticed watching people really distinctly prefer one or the other. right? So you're either in your straddle and you're playing with whatever feels good, you're in downward dog, maybe you go to child's pose, maybe you go to dog series. Inhaling to your plank, knees or feet. Exhaling chaturanga, nice slow low push up. Inhaling cobra or upward facing dog. Is there more? Find the fullness of breath wherever you are. And downward facing dog. We're going to slowly walk our hands back into ragdoll. Rise. Oh, so notice again, how do you feel standing? You've been on quite a journey of twisting and upside down. We're going to step sideways on our mat again. And this time in our straddle, before we move into our lunging on the other side, don't worry, I won't forget. This time in our straddle, we're going to do some really active reaching. So there's stretching, which helps get into our body, and then there's the activity and kind of pushing. So I'm going to ask you to really think about, it's what we call kind of isometric exercises, where you imagine that there's something there you're actually pushing or pulling. First, let's get the low body. So check that when you go side to side, again, your feet are staying rooted, your knees are not coming out beyond the heel. In fact, if you feel like you can go wider and it feels comfortable, do it, because you're just going to get more yummy. And your feet, if you're really wide, your feet may need to turn out very slightly versus being parallel. So just see what feels comfortable in the knees, all right? As you're ready, use your right foot to push firmly as you reach a little to the left. So kind of center left, not left as in the left end of the mat, because that's just going to be awkward, all right? And then push with your left hand and reach a little right of center there. And we're going to go. I want you to imagine you're actually pushing something away. So it's like a big wall. Good, I'm hearing some nice Ujjayi breath. We get a lot more of our core power happening when we breathe like that. Few more. And then we're going to come up, and I'm going to ask you to reach up. So push with your right foot and reach up a little to the left of center. Good. And then come center and pull it down. Use your left foot and reach a little to the right of center. And then as you exhale and pull down, turn your hips to shoulder neutral. Got it? Inhale, reach up. Exhale, pull down. Inhale, reach up and a little across. Exhale, pull down. Good, a few more. All right, we're going to come into our lunge on the other side. I'm hoping you remember what foot you had in front. So we're going to do the opposite. For me, it was left foot in front, so I'm just going to rotate. Come onto the ball of my back foot, place my block for my right hand. You can be, again, at any height you'd like in the block. What I'm looking for is for you to feel that you can, in this case, if you've got your left foot forward, get your left hip back, right hip bone forward. This keeps you from being in a wag, and it puts you in a beautiful strength position for twisting. Shoulder heads rotate down the back, big inhale. Exhale, bring the rag and rotate to the left. Shoulder heads drawing down the back. Inhale, neutral. Enjoy, you've got plenty of time to get out of that inhale. There's no rush. Exhale and rotate. Yeah, bringing the rag, so we think about elongating the spine and then belly towards spine, and this time opening that left arm to the sky. And releasing, we're going to keep that block, maybe add it to a higher position, depending. If you find it at all difficult to get your hips center, go with the absolute tallest. And if you still can't, I should have mentioned this, bring elbow to thigh, right? That's how we've been practicing lateral stretch typically. So this time I'm opening my body flat. So you want your left hand and left foot. And you're opening your right arm. You got it. Some people are still feeling like they want to twist. We're not twisted this time. You got it. And I would bring that block and arm inside of the ankle unless it feels better. Just put the block in your arm belly inside. Just like that. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, that's just,
Yeah, you got it. But this, because of that shoulder, it's better for you to have it to the outside. That's not typically how we do it, because it's actually harder for most people. All right. Yeah, breathing. Notice you gotta give yourself room, right? Or you just start kind of panting. That's not good. Oh, Charlie barks, no fun. Yeah. So, good, you're finding that flatter between two walls position. You can feel that what it's like now, right? Yeah, I like it. And I sometimes use my left arm in this case to kind of remind my left knee to kind of go to the outside, to not be anchoring in. So exactly nice little kind of brace. When you're ready to release, folks, your choice, last opportunity. A lot of us might go to straddle because it's just an easier movement out, right? And if you do that, you could still then move into dog series if you want to. Otherwise, wherever you feel you need to be, it might be resting, holding, flowing. If you're flowing with me, inhale, plank. One way to check if you're fully in your core and plank is you should be able to hop. If you're swagged, you won't be able to do that, right? So you're all totally strong enough to do this, but you gotta make sure you're using your architecture right. Core is up, I'm pushing the floor away with my arms, and then chaturanga. See if you can hold just off the floor, and then settle. Cobra or upward dog. Remember, no wings, no shrugs. Ah, marvelous. And then I'm going to invite you to come into your resting pose, child's pose. Maybe you're on your belly. What feels best? What do you need today in this moment? That can be, I think, the worst part of being human is that it's so hard to just be in this moment. We're just so geared towards imagining and thinking about the future and the past. So just tune into your body. The body is actually our entry point for present momentness, both in joy and goodness and sensual pleasures, whether you're eating something delicious, you're feeling a breeze on your skin. The body's also our entry point when it's not feeling good, when there's pain. And what we've been able to study actually is that when we choose to be present with discomforts and breathe towards them, that often we can involve and improve them with just our attention. So tuning into the body always brings amazing benefits. I'm going to ask you to scan your body and scan your practice so far. What have you learned? What have you noticed? Right, I really like the question, what is knowable? As I'm taking a sip of water, I'm reminded of a conversation I was having recently about hydration. We've talked about this a lot over the years, but that being even a few percentage points dehydrated can radically decrease your mental functioning, the fluidity of your tissues. And so, you know, for sure your athletic capacity, but also just daily functioning, you know, you're much more likely to get muscle cramps and all the things. And we've had a lot of heat here lately in the Midwest, and hydrating is one way you can really help your body through all that. We're gonna come into some focused core and breath work that you guys are very familiar with. We often do at the beginning of practice. It's our compression expansion breathing. We're gonna then use some of that intelligence for kind of our last little bit of physicality in the practice before we settle in for our yogic sleep. You guys ready for a little yoga nap in a bit? Does that sound good? Yeah, a few people look like they're maybe totally there. No problem with going there early. We'll try not to disturb you too much.
compression and expansion, which I do find to be both very powerful and peaceful. So laying on your back body, essentially what we're doing is a simplified version of three-part breathing, Dirga Pranayama. And I'll explain a little bit once we're into it, some of the benefits of this practice and why you might want to do it a little bit every day. All right, gathering a long inhale as if it's all you'd ever do. Exhale, draw belly towards spine and your lower back into the floor. Emptying, emptying, emptying until there's nothing left and it's time to relax and allow the inhale to breathe you. At the very end of the inhale, inviting it to come up into your clavicle area. Again, exhaling, emptying, powering down. You can even invite like your ribs to squeeze in and down. So one of the great gifts of compression breathing, it's slow and we've got the floor for reference. And so this is a chance to notice which muscles are kicking in to help you have core strength and which ones are kind of sleepy. So for those of us that know we're a little bit weak in the low belly, this is a great time to maybe even take your hands and touch those areas and invite them to compress. On the inhale, you're also inviting those same areas to expand with breath. Another layer of training here. How do we contract powerfully through the core without using our shoulders or our neck? And is this an area of habitual tension for you? If so, when you're in your anchoring, squishing something below the back, practice rolling the head side to side. Keeping the tip of the tongue connected, but the rest of the tongue very relaxed. Cheeks, jaw, that little soft area below the jawline. Please be patient with the inhale and notice it's a rolling wave, and it's only in the very last part of that wave that you will get a stretch or massage or movement up into the clavicle area. One of the great payoffs of this practice is that it helps us return to our natural and healthy breath cycle and using the whole breath apparatus, the diaphragm included. So it's particularly helpful if you've been stressed out or if you know someone who struggles with chronic stress and anxiety. Showing them this can be incredible because most of those people are not breathing diaphragmatically. And so it just creates this vicious cycle of low-grade fight or flight. And I've had the beautiful honor to work with a number of people who showing them this just, took a little bit, maybe 15 minutes of practicing it. Imagine there's something under your back that you're trying to squish, but that it transformed what had been years of anxiety and depression. So the power of breath, it's real. So simple and yet so profound. It requires us to notice, am I breathing fully, diaphragmatically? If you don't know and you need to connect and figure it out one-on-one, give me a holler. That's what I'm here for. But otherwise, just sending your attention or even your touch to areas to notice when that inhale comes, is it moving your rib cage or are you feeling it just in the chest? Your belly should be expanding as your lungs inflate and displace your abdominal, basically all of your digestive organs and everything in that area. All right, let me do just a few more. Are you able to stay relaxed in the mouth, the neck? So I'm going to be offering as our last kind of physical vim and vigor, which is kind of awesome just prior to your yogic sleep, you'll have a really great deeper rest, is a form of a sit-up. I'm always reluctant to use that word because I feel like it takes people right back to gym class. And I often see people repeat the bad habits that we did in gym class. So I'm going to ask you to really listen thoughtfully to some of the cues that I'm giving you that will get you into your core power without a bunch of neck stress and so on. So we're going to start with our feet flat like you would for bridge, but you might enjoy them wider. I guess I usually do when I'm in this kind of core work. And first, just do a couple more compression and expansion breaths here and notice what happens. You should definitely feel the lower back connect to the earth. I feel my butt cheeks and hamstrings kind of light up. Do you guys feel that? Good. I want the butt and the thighs participating. That is a part of your core power. And that's part of why we used the block earlier in between the thighs to just feel like, boom, center, right? Then you're going to take your hands behind your head, and I'm just cupping my head with my fingers. They are not laced. So I've just got my fingers all separated, like I'm holding a ball, and I've got them behind. If you cannot do this because of shoulder discomfort or what have you, if you need to, you can bring your elbows in closer to the head, but otherwise, please have them settling right now towards the floor best they can. Either way, we are not going to be pulling on our head. There'll be really no effort in the arms at all other than to gently support the weight of the head. Gathering a long inhale, imagining it's all you were ever going to do is just lay here and breathe. On the exhale, connect belly to spine, even maybe the pelvic floor contracts. Feel low back into the floor, and then feel the natural impetus for the upper vertebra to come right up off the floor in a little sit-up motion. Hold until there's no more exhale. Inhale, descend slowly, relaxing the head and neck and arms best you can, witnessing the fullness of inhale. And we'll continue. Exhale, contract pelvic floor, connect belly and back down into the earth, and let that torso naturally lift. Staying soft in the mouth, the neck muscles, the eyes. Is there more? So please notice as we're doing this, if your belly pops out, that is a great indicator that we need to actually retrain these muscles to draw towards the body, that kind of ringing the rag I talk about. We'll do a few more like this. See how much weight your head, you can give your head to your hands. And if this, by the way, is just too much on your neck or shoulders, stay here and continue simply compression, expansion breathing without the arms, just let them relax. And imagine you're going to come into a sit-up. Or if it feels better to you to do it without the arms, because of your shoulders, just have your arms alongside your body, palms flat to the floor. I'm going to offer one more add-on as we do like maybe 3 more. Those of you who would like are going to bring your legs into a straddle, feet flexed. And you can continue supporting the head with the hands or taking your hands through that center. And you can even rotate a little side to side. So it's like I'm trying to take my hands to my left calf and my right calf. Or slowly washing a window, or I don't want to think of it as. And of course, relaxing fully on the inhale. I just kind of usually let my knees bend, roll my head. Last couple rounds. Don't cut it short. Make sure that you're going through that staged process. Belly to spine, spine to floor, natural impetus to lift. When this all feels good and complete to you, it might be amazing to do one final expression of bridge pose, working those arms underneath, perhaps intertwining the hands behind the back in Yoga Mudra, raising the chin up and back to reduce neck pressure, powering down through the entire length of arm. Remember, you could just have the upper arm anchored, not the whole one if Yoga Mudra doesn't work for you. And one more big breath, raise the ribs up, up, up. And then exhale and slowly descend. Maybe you're relaxing into corpse pose. Maybe you're bringing the feet into butterfly. This would be a beautiful time for a few more sighing breaths. Checking again with the mouth and letting go. Would anyone like a bolster to prop the end of it up onto their block? It can be a marvelous, marvelous resting posture. Might have to take advantage for a little bit. So whatever position you would like, maybe you're on your back in corpse pose, maybe you're on your side body embryo like when we did our spinal twist. If you're using a bolster, you're positioning the end of the bolster up on a block, and then the butt is just on the floor, and I'm just supporting myself as I recline down onto the bolster, and you just kind of adjust positioning for the butt to give your back the right feeling. And then I'm going to work my shoulder blades underneath. And if you're on your back at all, do play with tucking your shoulder blades in towards the spine as it supports the shoulder head, externally rotating. Your palms might rotate towards the sky. And maybe you're extending the legs, maybe you have them in butterfly. Tuning into the presence of breath, rising and settling. With each exhale, your body is sinking more deeply with gravity, down and down and down. Now your body will take all of the healing prana, life force from your practice, circulate it to where it's needed most.
Just begin to slowly expand your breath, and while you are in this deep, introverted space, hopefully very integrated, please scan the practice that you experienced today for any information. Awarenesses of body patterns, differences side to side. Like for example, when we did that little thread to the needle, I could feel a very specific pull down to my right hip that was not there when I went the other way. That's something that I'll be exploring both with touch and kind of going, are there some places that are bound up? What's going on? I'll probably repeat that stretch later on today or tomorrow for sure and see if anything's evolved or what's needed. Sometimes when we scan the body, we also get a flash of awareness of something we do with our body and life off the mat that maybe contributes. Like, oh man, I need to stop carrying that really heavy bag on one shoulder, or whatever it might be, something that you perhaps do repetitively that creates an imbalance side to side or strain. When you feel ready to make that transition into the day, the river of life that's waiting for you, you might bring your palms together and brisk rub, create some nice heat. Again, that is your healing prana. We all have healing capacity, and you're going to use yours now towards yourself, either directing the hands toward the face or body, and we're kind of 10 to 12 inches off the surface, or you can make direct contact if you prefer. A lot of people I know who do healing work say that it's actually most impactful if you're off in that kind of energy